Welcome to this deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're tackling mastering critical thinking, using the insights gathered by Read Me a Book, Please.
Yeah, a really useful distillation.
Our goal is pretty straightforward. Pull out the core skills from this guide. For making better decisions, solving problems more effectively.
Like getting a mental toolkit ready.
Exactly. For navigating all the complexity out there.
And I think it's crucial right off the bat to understand what critical thinking isn't.
Good point.
It's not like just about winning arguments or always disagreeing.
No.
The book frames it as a really disciplined way of looking at information, analyzing it, figuring out its value, and then piecing it together logically to make sound judgments and, well, smart choices.
Right. It's that stepping back, isn't it? Moving beyond the gut reaction and looking at things, objectively. The book really hammers home considering different angles, potential consequences.
Ripple effects.
Exactly. And what really hit me was this idea, it's not something you're just born with.
Oh, definitely not.
It's a skill, like any other. You build it, you practice it.
Absolutely. Like strengthening a muscle, as the book says. Regular exercise.
And as you build it, the book argues, you just get better equipped for those knotty problems.
Yeah. And making reasoned decisions, feeling more confident when things are uncertain. But the benefits, and this is key, they spread out, don't they, into all parts of life.
They really do. Think about, say, personal relationships.
Okay.
Being a better critical thinker makes you a better communicator, more empathetic even.
How so?
Well, you're better able to grasp where someone else is coming from and work through disagreements more productively. Seeing beyond just your own view.
Yeah, understanding different viewpoints. That's huge in resolving conflict.
And professionally, it's gold.
Increasingly sought after, for sure. The book makes it clear employers everywhere want people who can think for themselves.
Solve new problems, drive innovation.
It's what makes leaders stand out, really.
So this deep dive, then, is all about giving you practical stuff from the book.
Tools, perspectives you can actually use.
To cultivate that critical thinking mindset. We'll look at the foundations.
Get into logical reasoning.
And uncover those, sneaky biases that trip us up.
They really can. We'll also touch on some concrete techniques. Problem solving, decision making.
Effective communication, too. All based on the book's ideas.
And it all starts, quite powerfully, according to the book, with understanding your own mind.
Self-awareness. The bedrock.
Precisely. You need to recognize your own thought patterns first. Right? Before you can start improving them.
Makes sense.
The book really dedicates time to this idea, knowing yourself, your thoughts, emotions, behaviors.
Seeing your mental habits, strengths, weaknesses.
And how your background, your experiences shape how you see things.
So how do we build that self-awareness? The book suggests starting points, right?
It does. One really practical one is just, paying attention. Mindfulness.
Just observing.
Yeah. Taking a few moments each day. Observing your thoughts, feelings, without judgment.
Just noticing.
It can start to reveal patterns you weren't even conscious of.
Interesting.
Another tool the book highlights is reflective journaling.
Writing things down.
Exactly. Thoughts, experiences, reactions. You create this sort of internal record.
And over time,
patterns emerge. How you make decisions, react emotionally, what underlying beliefs are driving things. You might notice, say, if you tend to jump to conclusions.
Or maybe always expect the worst outcome.
Right. And the book connects this self-knowledge directly to spotting cognitive biases.
Those mental shortcuts.
Predictable ways our thinking goes off track, leading to, less than rational judgments, often totally unconscious.
So we don't even know they're happening.
Often not. And the book uses great examples like confirmation bias.
Where you look for stuff that confirms what you already think.
Exactly. And ignore the rest. Or availability bias, thinking something's more likely just because you can easily remember examples of it.
Right. Recognizing these in ourselves, even though it's hard.
It's a huge step towards thinking more clearly.
The book says being aware lets you start challenging their influence, right?
Yes. And one way to uncover these hidden assumptions, ask for feedback.
Ooh, that can be tough.
It takes vulnerability. The book acknowledges that. But getting perspectives from people you trust.
Friends, colleagues.
Mentors. It can shine a light on blind spots you just can't see yourself.
So a question for you listening. How often do you actually ask for honest feedback on how you think?
It's a challenging but rewarding practice.
And the book prepares you. As you get more self-aware, You might feel some internal resistance.
Yeah, it's natural to get defensive when old beliefs are challenged.
But that discomfort.
Can actually be a sign of growth. Building that mental toughness critical thinking requires.
Okay, so that's the self-awareness piece.
Yeah.
Where does the book go next?
It transitions to the core elements of critical thinking itself, the fundamental tools. And logic is presented as a real cornerstone.
Right, logical thinking. Let's unpack that a bit.
Okay.
The book basically describes it as drawing conclusions based on evidence and, well, solid reasoning.
Identifying your starting points, your premises, your assumptions.
And then following them through logically. Sounds simple, but...
We do it all the time, often without thinking, but it gets tricky with complex arguments.
And spotting the flaws, right? Logical fallacies.
Exactly. Those errors in reasoning that lead to wrong conclusions, even if the start seems okay.
The book gives clear examples, like the ad hominem attack.
Attacking the person, not the argument. Classic.
Or the false dilemma, only giving two choices.
When there might be many others. And the slippery slope, assuming one thing inevitably leads to disaster without real proof.
So learning to spot these
Helps you see weaknesses in others' arguments, and crucially, avoid them in your own thinking. Really valuable today with all the persuasive messages flying around.
Definitely. But the book's careful logic isn't everything.
No, critical thinking also demands evidence-based thinking.
Grounding conclusions in facts, reliable data, not just opinions or anecdotes.
Which raises another question for you. How do you usually assess the information you encounter?
Do you look for credible sources? Evaluate the evidence quality.
Are you open to changing your mind if strong evidence comes along?
The book suggests this involves cultivating certain attitudes. Curiosity.
Driving you to ask questions, seek knowledge.
Open-mindedness.
Willingness to consider challenging ideas.
And intellectual humility.
Recognizing you don't know everything, you can learn from others, especially those you disagree with.
These attitudes together.
Form what the book calls a critical thinking mindset. Questioning assumptions, yours included. Healthy skepticism. A drive to keep learning.
Okay, so with that foundation, the book dives back into those cognitive biases, right? How to overcome them.
Yes, it goes deeper. It compares it to playing a game but not seeing all your own pieces.
Biases are the hidden pieces.
Influencing your moves without you realizing. Spotting them gives you a clearer view of the board.
And reminding us these aren't character flaws.
No, not about intelligence either. They're just how our brains try to be efficient but sometimes get it wrong systematically.
So it revisits confirmation bias again.
Looking for confirming evidence. Anchoring bias too, giving too much weight to the first thing you hear.
And the availability heuristic, overestimating likelihood based on easy recall.
Right. But again, awareness isn't quite enough. You need strategies to fight back.
Like actively seeking out challenging information.
Exactly. Which leads to another thought for you. How often do you intentionally look for perspectives that clash with your own strongly held views?
The book says the goal isn't always to change your mind.
But to give other views fair consideration. Read different news sources, follow different thinkers, have respectful chats with people who disagree.
Another strategy mentioned is mental flexibility.
Consciously considering alternatives. When you jump to a conclusion, pause. Ask, what else could be true here?
And bringing in diverse perspectives when making big decisions.
Talking to people with different backgrounds, expertise, it helps spot your blind spots.
Intellectual humility comes back in here too.
Being okay with being wrong, revising your thinking based on new evidence, that's growth, not weakness.
The book admits challenging biases feels uncomfortable.
But frames it as pushing your boundaries. That's where the real growth happens.
Okay, so overcoming biases. Then the book moves to practical problem-solving techniques.
Yeah, presenting it as a skill you can develop with concrete approaches.
How does this frame that?
Like untangling a really knotted string seems overwhelming at first.
But step by step, using the right techniques.
Even tangled issues can be sorted out.
And the first step is always
Clearly defining the problem. Often one big issue is actually several smaller linked ones.
so breaking it down. Problem decomposition.
Exactly. Makes it more manageable, helps you see potential solutions.
Then comes information gathering,
Critical step, often rushed. People jump to solutions too fast.
leading to bad outcomes.
So the book advises casting a wide net. Different viewpoints, experts maybe look for patterns underlying causes.
Once you understand the problem and have the info,
Generate solutions. This is the creative part, brainstorming.
suspending judgment initially.
Yes. Encourage all ideas, even wild ones. The best solutions often start out seeming unlikely.
Right. Then you evaluate.
Using those critical thinking skills, weighing pros and cons, practicality, potential outcomes, unintended consequences, objectively.
Setting aside personal bias.
Then you select the best option, make an action plan. Specific steps, responsibilities, timelines.
But it doesn't end there.
No, monitor the results, be ready to adjust.
The book also mentions reframing the problem.
Yeah, powerful technique. Sometimes how you first define a problem limits solutions. Look at it from different angles.
Might reveal innovative approaches you missed.
Exactly.
So after problem solving, the focus shifts to analyzing information and arguments.
Right. Being able to dissect complex info, judge the validity of claims.
How does the book approach that?
Think like a detective at a crime scene. Lots of info, claims, evidence.
Your job is to sift through it. Relevant versus irrelevant. Spotting flaws.
And the core skill is breaking down arguments into their basic parts.
Claims, reasons or premises, and the conclusion.
That's it. Break it down like that, and you can assess its strength much easier. Identify weaknesses.
Then you evaluate the evidence itself.
Asking key questions. Is it relevant? Reliable source? Enough evidence?
Watch out for cherry-picked data or single anecdotes.
Right. And as you analyze, you start seeing reasoning patterns. Some sound, some flawed.
Back to those logical fallacies again.
Recognizing them is key to telling good arguments from bad ones.
And it's not just what's stated.
Hidden assumptions matter too. What's not said can be just as important.
Developing these skills takes practice, the book said.
Apply them daily. Ads, news articles, political speeches. You start seeing many arguments don't hold up.
Okay, so analyzing info leads naturally to engaging with diverse perspectives.
Exactly. Critical thinking today demands considering viewpoints different from our own.
How does the book illustrate this?
Imagine a room, each wall painted a different color, a unique worldview.
As you move around, your perspective shifts.
You see new combinations, shades, like the diverse perspectives in our interconnected lives.
And the value of these perspectives?
Can't be overstated, the book argues. Seeking them out challenges our assumptions, broadens understanding, leads to better solutions.
Like adding more colors to your palette.
Makes the picture richer, more nuanced. But the book admits it's not always easy.
Stepping outside your comfort zone.
Confronting challenging ideas can feel unsettling, but that's often where growth happens.
A practical strategy suggested is deliberately seeking out different info sources.
Yeah. Read news outlets with different slants, not necessarily to change your mind.
But to understand the reasoning behind other views.
And during interactions, practice active listening.
Really focus, not just wait to talk. Understand the why behind their view.
What experiences shaped it, what values.
Empathy is key too.
Trying to see the world through their eyes, even if you disagree. Recognizing most people think they're doing what's right based on their understanding.
The book mentions steel manning.
Yeah, the opposite of straw manning. Instead of weakening someone's argument to attack it.
You state the strongest possible version of their argument.
Even if you disagree, builds empathy and understanding.
So, engaging with diverse views makes decision-making more challenging, but better.
You have more options, a more nuanced grasp of consequences.
The book suggests playing devil's advocate.
On your own or in a group. Argue against your preferred option. Assign people to champion different views.
Uncovers weaknesses, leads to more robust decisions.
Definitely.
Okay, so that leads us right into decision-making strategies.
Yeah, the book stresses it's a process, not just a single moment. Starts with defining the decision, gathering info.
Obvious, maybe, but often skipped.
Leading to poor choices. Take time to understand the scope. Gather data.
Then identify and evaluate options.
This is where critical thinking is vital. Think short-term, long-term outcomes. Risks, benefits. Alignment with goals, values.
Consider creative or less obvious choices too.
And the book suggests using a decision matrix.
Listing choices and key criteria. Scoring each one.
Helps compare complex options more objectively. Find the best fit.
And balancing logic with intuition.
Important. Analyze facts, but don't ignore gut feelings. Intuition is often unconscious pattern recognition. Use both.
Not just one or the other.
Right. And the book addresses managing uncertainty. We rarely have all the info.
Scenario planning helps.
Imagine different futures. See how your decision plays out in each.
The book also warns about pitfalls, like analysis paralysis.
Getting stuck analyzing, never deciding. Sometimes a timely, good enough decision is better than endless waiting for perfection.
Makes sense. From decisions, the book moves to building mental resilience.
That ability to bounce back, adapt to
That's
challenges,
a picture.
like a strong oak tree in a storm. Roots deep, trunk sturdy, bends but doesn't break.
Weathers difficulties, emerges stronger.
And it's more than just toughness. It's adapting well to adversity, stress, trauma.
Recovering, learning from failure, even thriving under pressure.
And the foundation, the book says, is managing emotions, emotional intelligence.
Recognizing, understanding, managing your own emotions, and influencing others.
Mindfulness meditation is highlighted as a technique.
Focusing on the present, accepting thoughts and feelings without judgment.
Builds self-awareness, reduces stress, improves emotional regulation.
Another aspect is the growth mindset.
Believing abilities can be developed through hard work, viewing challenges as learning opportunities, not threats.
Associated with Carol Dweck's work.
Exactly. The book advises watching yourself talk instead of, I can't do this.
Think I can't do this yet changes the whole perspective.
Resilience also needs a strong social support network.
People who support you, encourage you, challenge you constructively.
And resilient people use active coping strategies.
Facing problems directly, not avoiding them. Breaking them down, seeking advice, learning new skills.
Cognitive reframing is another powerful strategy mentioned.
Changing how you think about a situation to change its emotional impact.
Like seeing a job loss not as disaster, but maybe an opportunity for a new path.
Okay, so resilience gives inner strength. Then the book connects critical thinking to effective communication.
Yes, a key practical application. Think of it like building a bridge between minds.
Connecting different landscapes of thoughts, beliefs, experiences.
Communication is that bridge. Sharing ideas, emotions, collaborating.
And it's more than just sending info, it's creating shared understanding.
Which means expressing yourself clearly, but also actively listening and empathizing.
Critical thinking helps analyze messages both sent and received.
And active listening is fundamental, fully concentrating, not just hearing words.
Engaging all senses. Body language, tone. Providing feedback.
Yes. Critical thinking helps analyze the speaker's arguments, assumptions, distinguish emotion from logic.
And when communicating your own thoughts.
Critical thinking helps organize ideas logically, express them clearly, state your main point first.
Structure supporting points with evidence, sound reasoning.
And be aware of your audience. Tailor the message. What do they know? What are their concerns?
Constructive dialogue and debate are also vital.
Not about winning, but collaborative exploration for deeper understanding. Critical skills are essential here, analyzing arguments, spotting fallacies, separating emotion from reason.
The Socratic method is suggested.
Asking probing questions to stimulate critical thinking, draw out ideas, encourage others to examine their own assumptions.
Not just stating your position.
Right. And managing conflict effectively. When tensions rise.
Step back. Analyze objectively, respond thoughtfully, not reactively.
And don't forget nonverbal communication.
Body language, facial expressions, tone, they convey so much. Use critical thinking to be aware of your own cues.
So as we wrap up this deep dive on the book, the focus shifts to applying these skills in everyday life.
Right. Seeing the world through that critical thinking lens. Recognizing patterns, assumptions, pitfalls everywhere.
In personal relationships, for instance. Navigating disagreements.
Instead of getting caught in emotion.
Analyze the pattern. Is it the surface issue or something deeper, like feeling unappreciated?
Applying that analytical skill objectively.
And professionally, just as valuable. Tackling team problems, making strategic decisions, even office politics.
Define the problem, gather info, analyze critically, generate solutions.
The example given. Team missing deadlines. Don't blame. Analyze root causes. Lack of resources. Inefficient process. Unclear expectations.
Rigorous examination leads to better long-term solutions.
And critical thinking is crucial as consumers and citizens too.
With all the information and misinformation, bombardment.
Think critically about messages. Source. Evidence. Alternative perspectives missing.
Apply it to everyday decisions too, big or small.
Choosing careers, where to live, even planning your day. Systematic, thoughtful approach. Consider options, outcomes, biases.
By doing this consistently,
You steer your life more intentionally. It's not about over-analyzing trivia, but cultivating a habit of thoughtful consideration.
applying it flexibly as needed.
Exactly.
Okay, so the final reflections in the book emphasize the ongoing journey.
Yes, mastering critical thinking isn't a destination. It's continuous growth, lifelong learning.
Needs consistent practice, intellectual curiosity, commitment to development.
Curiosity is key. Keep asking questions. Explore new topics. Challenge your knowledge limits. Go outside your comfort zone.
Develop a personal learning practice that suits you.
Reading, reflection, exercises, podcasts, courses, projects. Find what works. Goal isn't just info collection, but active engagement, integration.
The book mentions deliberate practice.
Pushing beyond current abilities, seeking feedback, refining based on it.
So for critical thinking, that means tackling harder problems, seeking challenging discussions, asking for critiques.
Yes, maybe make it a habit. Analyze news from different angles, dissect arguments in books or podcasts, journal about complex issues. Consistency is key.
Make it part of the routine.
And view failures as learning opportunities, not judgments. Analyze what went wrong in the thinking process. Wrong assumptions, overlooked info.
Build a network too.
Fellow learners, critical thinkers, discussions, book clubs, mentors. Surround yourself with curious, thoughtful people for inspiration and alternative perspectives.
And looking ahead, the book stresses the importance of critical thinkers for future challenges.
Absolutely. Complex global problems need innovative solutions. Navigating trade-offs, ethical reasoning becomes paramount with new tech and social changes.
And in an info-saturated world,
Ability to analyze claims, evaluate evidence, draw sound conclusions is your shield against manipulation, your key to informed decisions.
so the journey is ongoing, a process of discovery.
Embrace it. Keep learning.
And perhaps leave everyone with this thought. What's one specific critical thinking technique we talked about today that you could intentionally apply to a challenge you're facing right now?